Manchester United are once again at the centre of football chaos. Another manager gone, another reset, another huge payout, and this time the full story behind Ruben Amorim's exit is even more dramatic than first believed. Let's break it all down clearly, calmly and honestly. Ruben Amorim has officially been sacked as Manchester United head coach, and despite the club's carefully worded statement, the reality behind the scenes was explosive. Amorim is set to be paid his contract in full, with compensation of around £10 million, including his backroom staff. There was no clause in his deal to reduce that payout. The only scenario that would have lowered the compensation was finishing in a very low league position, and that did not happen. So yes, United are paying the full price. Shortly after being informed of the decision by Chief Executive Omar Barada and Director of Football Jason Wilcox at Carrington, Amorim did not hang around. According to multiple sources, he packed his belongings into a box, said brief goodbyes, and left the training ground almost immediately. His assistants were also gathering their things as players began arriving for training. Some players asked the coaches where they were going. The answer was simple and brutal: home. It was one of the most surreal moments in a turbulent 72 hours at Old Trafford. Behind the scenes, tensions had been building for weeks, but everything finally came to a head during a heated meeting on Friday between Amorim and Jason Wilcox. The discussion turned to tactics and transfers, and that is where the relationship completely broke down. Wilcox raised concerns that players were struggling to trust Amorim's system, particularly the constant switching between a back three and a back four. Players would be trained in one shape during the week, only for a different system to be used on match day. According to club insiders, confusion was growing in the dressing room and belief was starting to fade. Amorim's response was firm and uncompromising. He told Wilcox the players needed to be changed. Wilcox pushed back, arguing for evolution rather than upheaval, insisting the squad could improve over time. That is when Amorim reportedly said he wanted to leave and would contact his agent. The fallout was immediate and severe. A scheduled meeting between Amorim and the squad was cancelled. Trust was gone. This is where Sir Jim Ratcliffe's influence becomes critical. Ratcliffe has been clear for months that he wants United to move toward a back four system. He made that view known internally, and Wilcox was under pressure to push that direction. While Amorim initially told United he would start with a back three and add layers later, patience within the hierarchy was wearing thin. There was also friction with Christopher Vival, United's director of recruitment. Amorim and Vival did not see eye to eye on transfer policy. Amorim wanted immediate changes. United wanted long-term structure. And then there were dressing room issues. Sources say Amorim was involved in a training ground confrontation with Lisandro Martinez just weeks ago. While details remain private, it added to concerns about communication and control. The Glazer family had already expressed concerns about results as early as August. Former United Chief Executive David Gill even questioned Amorim's so-called bomb squad approach during a football board meeting. All of this built toward the decision that United felt they could no longer delay. Jason Wilcox and Omar Barada addressed the players at Carrington to explain Amorim's exit. Darren Fletcher immediately stepped in as interim head coach, taking training alongside Travis Binion. Fletcher's calm presence and deep understanding of the club were seen as vital during this unstable period. There are also familiar faces circling. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is under consideration to return as caretaker manager until the summer. He is understood to be open to the role and waiting for United's decision. Johnny Evans is also a candidate to return immediately as part of the coaching staff, potentially even assisting at Burnley this week. For now, Fletcher remains in charge. United's transfer plans, however, have not changed. According to The Athletic, January was never intended to be a major window. The club will instead focus on summer recruitment, sticking to their long-term model despite the managerial upheaval. Financially, the cost is huge. Amorim's United tenure will cost the club over £27 million in total when salary and compensation are combined. Another expensive lesson. So what now? Attention immediately turns to Amorim's replacement. Zinedine Zidane remains a name discussed internally, though doubts persist over whether he would accept United's new head coach model rather than full managerial control. Enzo Maresca, Gareth Southgate, and even a temporary return for Solskjaer or Michael Carrick are also being considered in various capacities. One thing is absolutely clear: power at Manchester United has shifted. The next appointment will be a head coach, not a manager. Recruitment, structure, and long-term planning will sit above any individual. This is no longer about one man. Manchester United are at yet another crossroads, another reset, another defining moment. The question now is simple, but massive. Who leads Manchester United next? Do you want experience or innovation? Stability or ambition? A statement name or a system builder? Drop your thoughts in the comments. This decision will shape the club for years to come. In other news, Manchester United continued their preparations for Thursday night's Premier League clash against Burnley with an intense training session at Carrington led by interim manager Darren Fletcher. The mood around the training ground was focused and professional as the players looked to respond after the frustrating 1-1 draw with Leeds United. United know they need a result, not just for the table, but to restore belief after a turbulent few days. Training began with sharp warm-up routines and quick passing drills designed to improve movement and decision-making on the ball. As the session progressed, the intensity increased. Small-sided games focused heavily on pressing, quick transitions, and maintaining possession under pressure. Darren Fletcher was actively involved throughout, stopping play to give instructions and demanding higher standards. Senior players led by example, setting the tempo and taking responsibility during tactical drills, particularly those focused on team shape and defensive discipline. In the final phase of training, attackers worked on finishing from different angles, while goalkeepers were pushed hard with close-range shots and reaction saves. Young academy players were also given the chance to impress, and several stood out with their energy, sharp passing, and willingness to follow instructions. Fletcher was seen encouraging them, clearly monitoring their development closely. Tactically, United prepared specifically for Burnley's physical style of play. The focus was on winning second balls, staying compact in midfield, switching play quickly into wide areas, and improving communication at the back. Concentration and teamwork were heavily emphasised ahead of a difficult away fixture at Turf Moor. Now let's talk team news. There are some positive signs on the injury front. Bruno Fernandes remains a minor doubt after a hamstring issue picked up against Aston Villa, but he is pushing hard to return and has been back on the grass. A late decision will be made, but his availability would be a massive boost. Mason Mount is also a minor doubt after being forced off against Newcastle on Boxing Day with a muscular issue. He will be assessed closer to kickoff, but there is optimism he could feature. Kobbie Mainoo is a bigger concern. The midfielder is still recovering from a calf problem that has ruled him out of the last 4 games. While he is making progress, Burnley may come too soon. Matthijs de Ligt remains sidelined with a back problem, while Harry Maguire continues his recovery from a thigh injury suffered before the November international break. United will also be without Amad Diallo and Noussair Mazraoui, all away on Africa Cup of Nations duty. Despite all that, there are no suspension issues, giving Darren Fletcher more flexibility with his selections. But off the pitch, the headlines have been dominated by one major story. Ruben Amorim is gone. The Portuguese coach was sacked following his explosive post-match comments after the Leeds draw, where he publicly questioned the club's structure and made it clear he wanted full control. Those comments caused serious tension behind the scenes, and United's hierarchy decided enough was enough. United currently sits 6th in the Premier League, uncomfortably close to the chasing pack. The situation feels eerily similar to the 2021-22 season, when United also finished 6th before another managerial reset. Attention has now turned to who replaces Amorim. One name that always comes up is Zinedine Zidane. However, Zidane has previously explained why a move to Old Trafford may never happen. He has admitted that language is central to how he works, and he does not feel fully comfortable operating in English. While there have been claims he has been learning the language, there is no firm evidence that he is ready to take on a Premier League job. Another key factor is the France national team. Didier Deschamps is expected to step down after the 2026 World Cup, with Zidane widely seen as the natural successor. That role may be far more appealing than rebuilding Manchester United during another unstable period. Right now, United are leaning toward a summer appointment rather than rushing another decision. The search for Manchester United's next manager is officially underway after Ruben Amorim was sacked on Monday, just 14 months into his spell at Old Trafford. Amorim's departure followed his latest public criticism of the club's hierarchy, comments that ultimately crossed a line for United's leadership. Despite sitting 6th in the Premier League and still being in the race for Champions League qualification, the club decided a reset was needed. For now, BBC Sport understands that Darren Fletcher will take charge of the team for the next few matches. After that, United are expected to appoint a caretaker manager to see out the remainder of the season, while a permanent replacement is lined up for the summer. So the big question now is simple: who will be Manchester United's next manager? Let's break down the main contenders. First, Premier League proven options. After failed spells under Erik ten Hag, Ralf Rangnick and now Ruben Amorim, there is a growing feeling that United may need someone who already understands English football. One standout name is Unai Emery. He has done an outstanding job at Aston Villa, taking them from relegation battles into European qualification and now genuine title contention. Villa currently sit third in the table, just 6 points behind leaders Arsenal. However, Emery's mixed spell at Arsenal could count against him in the eyes of some United fans. Oliver Glasner is also firmly in the conversation. The Crystal Palace boss led the club to their first ever FA Cup triumph last season and has turned them into one of the toughest teams to face in the Premier League. His contract expires this summer, making the timing attractive. Crucially, Glasner is seen as more tactically adaptable than Amorim, something United now value highly. Eddie Howe is another Premier League option. He ended Newcastle's long wait for a major trophy by winning the Carabao Cup and has experience managing under pressure at a big club. Next, internal and former Manchester United figures. Darren Fletcher, currently interim manager, is unlikely to be the long-term solution, but could stabilise things short-term. Another internal candidate is Michael Carrick. The former United midfielder is currently out of work after leaving Middlesbrough and remains highly respected at Old Trafford. Whether he is still available by the summer remains to be seen. There has also been talk of a possible return for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. While it may seem unlikely, he remains popular with fans and his record is often overlooked. Under Solskjaer, United finished second in the Premier League and scored their highest number of league goals since Sir Alex Ferguson retired. Still, the club may feel that chapter has already closed. Now let's look at continental options. Mauricio Pochettino is a name that never seems to go away. Currently managing the United States national team, the timing could suit him if United wait until the summer, especially with the World Cup approaching. Xavi is another big name available. The former Barcelona manager has been out of work since 2024 and managing in the Premier League would be a huge attraction. Roberto De Zerbi, now at Marseille, has Premier League experience from his Brighton days and is highly rated tactically. However, his outspoken nature could be seen as a risk by United's hierarchy. Gareth Southgate is also back in the conversation. Having stepped away from England in July 2024, he initially ruled out a return to coaching for at least a year. That time has now passed. Sir Jim Ratcliffe is known to admire him, though Southgate has not managed a club since leaving Middlesbrough 16 years ago. Another name to watch is Enzo Maresca. Recently sacked by Chelsea, he is available and admired by some at United, particularly for his ability to work within a structured footballing hierarchy. Behind the scenes, Ineos and Sir Jim Ratcliffe are believed to be leaning towards a summer appointment rather than rushing a decision. Crystal Palace's Oliver Glasner is seen as a leading candidate, while McKenna and Maresca also appeal due to their willingness to operate as head coaches within a wider club structure. Julian Nagelsmann has also been mentioned. United recruitment director Christopher Vivel knows him well from their Red Bull days, and Nagelsmann could consider a return to club football after the 2026 World Cup. One thing is now clear: Manchester United want their next manager to fit into a defined structure, not dominate it. That was the breaking point with Ruben Amorim, and the club will not repeat that mistake. Let me know in the comments who you want to see as Manchester United's next manager. And don't forget to subscribe for all the latest breaking United news. Meanwhile, in previous news, Ruben Amorim has been sacked as Manchester United head coach after just 14 months in charge, bringing an abrupt end to what has been a deeply underwhelming and turbulent spell at Old Trafford. Amorim was appointed in November 2024, arriving from Sporting Lisbon with a big reputation and huge expectations. Many fans believed United had finally secured one of Europe's brightest young coaches, but despite early optimism, his reign quickly became defined by inconsistency, frustration, and a growing disconnect behind the scenes. On the pitch, results never truly matched the promise. Amorim oversaw one of the worst league campaigns in Manchester United's modern history, with the club finishing 15th last season, their lowest top-flight position in over 5 decades. Although United reached the Europa League final in May, the defeat to Tottenham only added to the sense that progress was limited. This season has offered little improvement. United currently sit 6th in the Premier League, and Sunday's 1-1 draw away at Leeds proved to be the final straw. Just hours after that match, Amorim delivered an explosive press conference that sent shockwaves through the club. In that interview, Amorim insisted he was Manchester United's manager, not just a head coach. He publicly questioned the club's structure, told the recruitment department to do their job, and openly hinted at frustration with the leadership above him. Those comments are understood to have caused serious concern at board level. Less than 24 hours later, Manchester United released an official statement confirming his departure. The club said the decision was made due to a lack of evolution and progress over his 14 months in charge, rather than any single incident. However, it is clear that Amorim's unwillingness to adapt tactically and his increasingly public criticism played a major role. United sources say the club expected Amorim to develop a more proactive and attacking style over time, but his strict commitment to his preferred system never changed. That stubbornness, combined with mixed performances and strained relationships, ultimately cost him his job. For now, Darren Fletcher has been placed in temporary charge. The former United midfielder will lead the team for Wednesday's match against Burnley, while the club carefully considers its next move. Fletcher is highly respected internally, but this is strictly a short-term solution. Attention has already turned to who will replace Amorim. Sir Jim Ratcliffe now faces one of the biggest decisions of his tenure. Jurgen Klopp remains a dream option, but his current role with Red Bull makes that move extremely unlikely. Other names under consideration include Oliver Glasner, Gareth Southgate, Andoni Iraola, Unai Emery, and Laurent Blanc. Manchester United insist they remain confident in their leadership structure, but pressure is now firmly on the hierarchy to get the next appointment right. After years of instability, fans are demanding a clear identity, strong leadership, and genuine progress. Ruben Amorim leaves Old Trafford having promised much, but ultimately delivering too little. His time at Manchester United will be remembered as another chapter of missed opportunity in a long rebuilding process. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Was sacking Amorim the right decision, and who should replace him next? Make sure to subscribe for all the latest Manchester United breaking news. Meanwhile, in previous news, after the game at Elland Road, Amorim made it very clear that he is unhappy with his role at the club. He insisted that he joined Manchester United to be the manager, not just a head coach, a statement that immediately raised eyebrows. Many inside the club reportedly viewed those comments as a direct challenge to the current power structure above him. Sources close to the situation say tensions have been building for weeks between Amorim and Director of Football Jason Wilcox. The main disagreements centre around January transfer plans and tactical flexibility. Amorim wants backing in the market and full control over the football direction, while the club hierarchy is pushing for patience and long-term planning. The January transfer window is now open, but Amorim has already admitted there are no active discussions about new signings. That has only increased frustration, especially with United sitting 6th in the table and struggling for consistency. Amorim believes 1 or 2 midfield additions are needed, but the club is reluctant to spend heavily this month. Behind the scenes, senior figures at Old Trafford are said to be unhappy with the public nature of Amorim's comments. While Sir Jim Ratcliffe has previously spoken about giving managers time, there are now concerns about whether Amorim can work within the current structure. Despite all the noise, Amorim has made one thing clear: he will not resign. He says he will continue in his role until the board decide otherwise. However, reports suggest contingency plans are already being discussed, with potential replacements quietly monitored if the situation escalates. For now, Ruben Amorim remains Manchester United manager. But after this press conference, the pressure has clearly intensified, and the coming weeks could be crucial for his future at the club. Let me know in the comments, do you back Amorim, or is this already heading towards an exit? And don't forget to subscribe for all the latest Manchester United updates elsewhere. Manchester United were back in Premier League action at the weekend, but were forced to settle for a 1-1 draw against Leeds United at Elland Road. It was another frustrating afternoon for Ruben Amorim's side, who have now recorded 2 consecutive draws since their Boxing Day victory over Newcastle at Old Trafford. While the result kept United in the hunt for Champions League qualification, it also underlined the fine margins currently defining their season. United showed moments of control during the match, but once again struggled to fully dominate midfield, allowing Leeds to grow into the game. Drop points have become a recurring theme, and that frustration was clearly visible in Ruben Amorim's post-match comments. The United head coach delivered a blunt and uncompromising assessment, comments that have since sparked significant debate across the media and among supporters. Amorim's remarks following the draw have intensified speculation about his working relationship with Director of Football Jason Wilcox. While there has been no official suggestion of internal conflict, the timing of his comments, coming with the January transfer window already open, has raised eyebrows. The Portuguese coach appeared keen to shut down expectations of incoming transfers, insisting the club would not deviate from its long-term plan. Speaking during his press conference, Amorim was clear in his message. He said the transfer window was not going to change anything and confirmed there were no conversations taking place about altering the squad. He stressed there is a process and an idea in place, and that approach will continue regardless of outside pressure. Amorim also pointed out that while United are close to the Champions League places, they are equally close to several teams behind them, underlining how tight the Premier League table remains. Those comments have led many to question whether United will make any signings at all this month. Midfield remains the most talked about area. United have explored the conditions of a potential move for Brighton midfielder Carlos Baleba, as revealed by Sky Sports News. Baleba has long been admired by United's recruitment team and was a serious target during the summer window. However, Brighton have remained firm in their stance that the midfielder is not for sale. Brighton Deputy Chairman Paul Barber publicly addressed the situation, stating the club has no plans or desire to sell Baleba in this window or any future one. He emphasised that Brighton are fully aware of Baleba's talent and believe he has many options ahead of him. Baleba is under contract and Brighton are comfortable holding on to him, especially with expectations that there will be strong demand for central midfielders in the summer. United accept that a January deal for Baleba is extremely unlikely. Brighton's valuation remains well above £100 million, a fee United are not prepared to meet at this stage. Internally, United believe their priority for 2026 is to sign at least one, possibly two elite central midfielders, and Baleba remains high on that long-term list. Alongside Baleba, United continue to monitor several Premier League midfielders. Nottingham Forest's Elliot Anderson, Crystal Palace's Adam Wharton, and Wolves midfielder João Gomes are all under consideration. Wharton in particular is attracting growing interest across Europe. Reports from Spain suggest Real Madrid have now entered the race, joining Manchester United, Manchester City, Chelsea and Liverpool in tracking the England international. Palace are under no pressure to sell, and Wharton has several years remaining on his contract, meaning any move would command a huge fee.